So, hi, I'm Rishti Suman. Currently, I'm a first year doing my bachelor's in engineering in computer science. I am an open source and cloud native enthusiast. Currently, I'm also an intern at DoK, contributor at Kubernetes, and these are my socials. So, if you want to connect with me, then you can just jump in there. So, today I'll be talking about Docker. What is Docker and why so people are so much crazy about it and talking about it constantly. So it is a platform for building and running applications in a consistent manner. So if your application is working in your development device, then machine, then it will be working in other machines also through Docker. Okay, so but there are some reasons. So if you're developing software for a long time, then you have maybe come across this issue where your application is working in your development machine but it's not working somewhere else. So there can be a couple of reasons. So one is that your one or more files, when you're deploying your application, one or more files is missing. So means your application is not fully deployed. Okay. And the second reason can be that the version in which your application is working in your development device machine, it is not working in your test machine. Okay, so maybe in your, for example, you're using your in your application you're using the node version 14 in your development machine, but in your test machine it is using node version 9. So there can be a problem there. Other issue is that this can also happen if the configuration settings like the environment variables are different across these machines. Okay, and so there can be a problem. But we have Docker, so Docker comes to the rescue at that point of time. So with Docker, if you can you easily package up your application, so it can run anywhere and any device without any problem. And so if your application needs a version of Node or MongoDB, then Docker will it will be included in your application package through Docker. So in other machines also, if they're having Docker, then the application will be working fine. You won't face any problem. So one of the topic that often comes up when we are discussing about Docker is that what is the difference between containers and virtual machines or VMs, as we say nowadays? So, virtual machine, as the name suggests, it is an abstraction of a physical hardware. Okay, so if for example, in your Mac OS, okay, we can have like many virtual machines in a single real physical machine. So, for example, in your Mac OS, you are having two virtual machines, one that is running on Windows and the other that is running on Linux. Okay, so how do we do that? We do that using a tool called hypervisor. So the hypervisor, the term sounds are it's very big and it sounds to be very complicated. But in simple terms, it helps us to manage virtual machines. Okay, so there are many hypervisors out there. One is VirtualBox, or we can say VMware, which works on Mac OS, Windows, Linux. Okay, and we have the Hyper-V, which works only on Windows. Okay, but with this model of virtual machines, there are some problems which arises. Okay. One problem is that uh, every when you are have using virtual machines, we need to be like it needs to be licensed, patched, and monitored. Okay, it means the whole because the whole operating system is loaded up, you know, so it takes a lot of time. So your application will start very slowly, and it means it will take time, like as if you're starting a computer. Okay, another another problem which arises is that it is like resource intensive. Virtual machines are resource intensive, so it will like take up your take a slice of the actual physical memory that is in a CPU or hard disk drive. So it is these are some two problems which arises when we are using virtual machines. Now we'll be talking about containers. So containers also does the same work that virtual machine does, but like we don't have these problems out there. So it allows running multiple applications in isolation. They're lightweight, and it uses the operating system of the host. because of which you don't need to, like in virtual machine, you're licensing and patching up every virtual machine. So because it is using up the operating system of the host, it starts up very quickly. You don't need to take a lot of time. It can start up in a second or even lesser than a second also, and it needs less hardware resources. Okay, now we'll be talking about the Docker architecture. Okay, the Docker architecture works on the client server, client and server architecture. So it has a client component that talks to a server component through a RESTful API. So server is also called the Docker engine, and it sits on the background and takes care of building and running the Docker containers. But technically, a container is like just a process like other processes which are running on our computer. Okay. So that's it. Thank you for coming. And if you want to reach out to me, then I will be very happy to like answer your questions. If you have any questions, reach out to my socials. I have already shared them. And yeah, thanks.